forming the arch and moving my hands to mobilizing the head of the metatarsal. The molecules of proteoglycans get released. Restriction over the middle kidney pressure. Hooking. Press right here. Hooking it with the finger, remembering where we need to pay the attention. Restricting motion in the first interphalangeal, proximal. Moving along. Assessing the skin, temperature, soft tissue. Light effleurage. First, to assess properly, we don't put the lotion. Just feeling what we are going to work with. Assessing with our touch, with palpation, checking for the joint mobility, and applying lotion. From the toes towards the heel and the ankle and back. Ankle, heel, midfoot, plantar and dorsal, the ball of the foot, and the toes. Rolling the toes between the fingers, gently effleuraging the phalanges. Wide stroke, broad, heel to toes. 1, 2, 3, moving from central to more lateral, to the base of the 5th and the 4th and the 1st metacarpal bones. Outer and the inner side of the foot. Here. Adding more lotion. Cross foot strokes, still effleurage. Again, same direction, moving from the heel to toes. Across the surface of the foot. With my fingers and palms. Opposite directions. Effleuraging the metatarsal area. Moving towards the toes. change into diagonal direction. And the opposite. Applying more pressure. We have already enough lotion on the foot. First starting with the inner side, medial side of the foot. Moving from the heel. Circular motions on the heel while supporting the ankle. So my thumb and the second finger are on the ankle joint, while my three other fingers moving around the heel towards the ankle, Achilles tendon, and the heel, and up. Up means towards the toes, distal. Feeling the first metatarsal bone, and moving along to the head of the first metatarsal, going back, checking for the first and second row of tarsal bones. Navicular, cuneiform, the base of the metatarsal, and up. Fascial restrictions along the plantar surface of first metatarsal. Here we are. Just moving in small circles. Bigger circle. And moving along. I use some of my tools. Volcanic stone hook-like motion, mobilizing the fascia. The opposite side. Moving proximal from the toes to the heel. Circular motion. Wide and broad. And applying acupressure right under the navicular bone, spleen vessel points. Moving along. Release. Press. Release. Okay. Continue with manual treatment in the midfoot. Central line. Adding tiny bit of lotion. Here's imaginary central line. Right ends with the mid toe, the third one, along the third metatarsal, strokes deeper and stronger. Feeling for the restrictions in plantar fascia from the heel to the toe. Midfoot restrictions right here. Going along the fibers. Slow release. Slow release. Across. Two fingers alternating. Compression and distraction, and again compression, distraction, soothing, compression, distraction, compression, distraction, soothing. Applying more pressure, stabilizing, stretching, feeling for the first barrier, tissue resistance, releasing the fascia. Using Guasha tool. Moving distal from the heel to toes through the midfoot. Noticing the color changing, more lateral, again, proximal to distal. Reversing the tool, going deeper right through the arch, long arch of the foot, helping to restore the shape, just to tone up the tissue and release fascial restrictions so the arch is flexible and mobile. And double checking. It's way better now. Fascia feels softer, mobile. The bones moving freely. Opposite direction. Compressing, bringing the arch together, releasing and opening it. Compressing, forming the arch, and moving my hands towards the toes, release, stabilizing with my left hand, compression, using the first toe and the fifth one as my focal points. Flexion in the arch, compressing, releasing. Soothing the tissue. Applying gentle pressure. Soothing more. Affleuraging. Massaging the toes. First spreading with the wooden stick. Supporting with my left hand. All the way from the small toe down along the arch. Fourth one, middle one, second, and the first one. Checking the mobility of the first big toe joint, metatarsophalangeal. Mobilizing, traction, hyperextension and forward flexion, and release. Traction, hyperextension, forward flexion, pressure, release. Mobilizing the joint capsule. Phalanges. Base and the distal one. Affleuraging. Pressing. Release. Second toe. Further mobilizing the big toe, flexing, extending, gentle valgus and varus, in and out, stretching, release, interdigital space. Applying gentle pressure, moving up, second toe, 3 phalanges, working on the base and first proximal interphalangeal joint, gentle traction, middle phalanx, and the distal traction and compression, joint mobilization, gentle hyperextension, traction, release, hyperextension, traction, release. Moving to the third one, interdigital space, getting smaller, applying pressure, proximal phalanx, medial, middle, and the distal one. Compression, tendon. Release. Gentle traction, relaxing. Next one, compression, gentle traction, mobilization of the proximal interphalangeal joint, middle one, distal, traction, compression, release. Last one. Interdigital space. Compression. Traction. Spiral compression. Mobilization. Release. Getting into interdigital space with my acupressure point, activating buffoon points. 1, 2, 3, and the last one. Mobilizing the toes in combination with compression from the acupressure stick, opening up, compressing, releasing. Once again, opening up, interdigital space, compression, release, interdigital space, opening, compression, release, and the last one with the help of the other hand, compression, deviating the toe, opening up, digital muscle stimulation, plantar surface release, checking the mobility of the fourth and fifth toes. Still can mobilize further. The fourth one. Flexing, which means bending, traction, extension, adding hyperextension feeling for the tissue barrier resistance. Gentle traction. Mobilized. Perfect flexion. Straight extension. Soothing. Digital space. And the fifth one. Adduction. Flexion. Hyperextension. Traction. Adding more traction, gently hyperextending with the help of the other thumb. Traction, release, check. Excellent, mobility is restored. for the tissue state. Nice and warm. Mobile fascia. Normal mobility, no restrictions. Metatarsal space. Head of the metatarsals and toes. You need to stop, not to think that Captain Chaika. Starting our foot massage. Warming up the foot. At the same time assessing state of the skin, temperature, texture, dryness. It's winter, so skin feels more dry than normal. Tissue under the skin, adipose tissue, and then superficial fascia. Adipose tissue is totally normal. Checking for fascial restrictions. Distal from the heel bone, right here. Moving distal, midline. Small restriction over the middle cuneiform, moving in the mid-center, along the metatarsal towards the middle toe. Again, right here, feel the restricted area. Moving to the medial side, inner side. Fascia is mobile except the base of the phalanx and the head of the first metatarsal. Through the midline going to the fifth metatarsal bone. Gentle traction, release. Middle of the fifth metatarsal bone, we feel for the restriction. Fascia restriction, which goes all the way from the space between metatarsals and the edge of the fifth metatarsal, right here. Hooking it with the finger, remembering where we need to pay the attention. Moving up, checking the toe mobility, one by one. No pulling, just assisting to make the toe straight with the left hand. And checking the big one. Big one is restricted in extension, slightly restricted flexion in the first metatarsophalangeal joint, and slightly restriction in adduction, adduction. No soreness, no pain. Starting with effleurage, warming up further, whole foot, heel to toes, one by one. Right, left, right, left. They meet on top. Now it's left, right, left, right. Moving down together. My hands go up together. 1, 2, 3. Now they start overlapping. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm starting on the inner side and end on the outer side, and vice versa, starting on the outer side and moving to the inner side. Big toe, repeating that crisscross motion. And moving together. 3. Adding a bit more lotion, moving to the deeper surface, deeper layers. Means we're applying a bit more pressure, starting from the attachment of the Achilles tendon. Just right here on the heel. Circular motion, meeting our fingers here. Going back, forward, back, forward, through the midline, sideways, back to the Achilles. Now applying pressure and moving from the center, straight, every stroke closer to the outer and inner edge, straight. Now we are off the heel. Moving more central. Circular strokes, pressure, release, pressure, release. The inner side. Feeling for the longitudinal arch, long arch of the foot. 1, 2, dorsiflexion. Extension, plantar flexion, release. Moving lateral outer side, pressing, releasing, pressing, release, press, restrictions along the 5th metatarsal. 1. A bit screechy feeling. 2, 3. Using my big Guasha tool. Applying pressure. Patient is reacting. Take a bit to release. Foot is getting pinkish. Applying more lotion. Using Guasha technique. Guasha tool allows me to work on the plantar surface, the transitional zone between the fifth metatarsal bone, skin of the foot, and skin of the upper area. Just changing the angle, moving along. Checking for the restrictions. Soft, mobile tissues. Moving up, which means distal. Pressing on the head of the fifth metatarsal. And now I am on the metatarsal phalangeal joint. Pinky toe, fifth one. Excellent extension. Limited flexion. Physiological adduction and good abduction. Mobilizing the head of the metatarsal. Using my acupressure tool. Applying my acupressure tool. Mobilizing the toes and applying pressure to buffoon points. Fourth one. Release. Working on a fourth toe. Again, limited flexion, good extension. Flexing, applying traction, compression. More compression, hyperextending, flexing, more flexion, extension, compression. Double check. Applying pressure to buffoon point 3. Mobilizing. Soothing. And checking the third one. Restricted motion in joint between the phalanx and the head of the metatarsal. Gentle traction first. Flexion, hyperextension, traction, then flexion. Adding the flexion of the interphalangeal joint. Making traction and extension over my tool. Release, pressing in the interdigital space. Buffoon, the point we used between the toes right a minute ago. Release, compression, traction, compression, and moving along, proximal to distal. release, relax. Second toe, very good mobility, contrary to those 2, 3. Move about the dorsophalangeal joint, restricting motion in the first interphalangeal, proximal. Gentle traction, flexion. Again, gentle traction, no hyperextension. Mobility is fully restored. And for the last phalanx, again using my acupressure tool. Traction and flexion without letting it go. And release, traction, just with the weight of the foot. Release, compression, and applying pressure to the first point of buffoon, Bian in some books. Release, soothing the tissue. And using my tool as the extra hook, volcanic stone tool. Apply gentle pressure, moving up, release, hooking from the other side, adding lotion. Moving up, release, moving up, release, moving up, release, moving up. In that case, up means distal, intradigital space. Hook, pressure, going around, release, pressing base of the toe, feeling for the arch, gentle pull, traction to the heel, and now compressing the arch inward towards the sole of the foot, plantar direction, stretch and opening. First we open by hooking to the metatarsal heads of the big and the small toe, releasing. Now we feel for the first, second, fourth, third, middle and fifth, basically all the head of the metatarsal, bringing them into nice arch, like this, traction and opening. Opening sideways one by one. Except the big toe, which goes opposite direction. Medial, adduction, increasing the space between first and second toes, natural pattern. Flexion, extension. Pressing with my acupressure tool. Moving further, pressing again. Once again, and using it to spread the fascia. Nice roll. Checking the tissue manually. Good mobility, soft, movable muscles, and the warm skin. Improved blood supply. Working on the foot using slight position of the plantar flexion to focus more of the plantar tissue. Very easy to feel for any restrictions which remain after the main treatment. For example, here in this area clearly can be felt different from the rest of the foot. Adding tiny bit of lotion and starting not here where we feel it, but from the heel moving towards the restriction. Once we feel it, we change our strokes from the straight, slow moving along. We switch to circular opposite directional movements, keeping our fingers relaxed, applying pressure, but at the same time we are feeling for the changes of the tissues, mobilizing the restriction. Subjectively it feels like the tissue is melting. On the other hand, getting warmer. With the release, the temperature increases. The molecules of proteoglycans get released. Tissue is gliding. The last point is here, closer to 5th metatarsal. Applying pressure, moving, releasing, again, round motion, strokes, smoothing up, proximal, distal, opening, moving back, opening, moving back, opening, moving back. Diagonal light strokes. Gentle medial to lateral movement. Heel to the 5th toe. Straight back. Sideways. Straight back. Sideways. straight back. We can see the line. Red line shows up. Okay, crossing my fingers and applying pressure, moving them apart, stretching gently, pushing all the blood and intercellular fluid up towards the heel, back to the string. Gentle cross opposite directional movements. Straight. Down and up. From the toes to the attachment of Achilles. Close. It's just one fingers. Close. Easy to feel the tissue and use gentle strokes with the extra lotion, one directional flourish. No pressure down, light pressure up. Compression, please. Compression, please. Gentle compression. Soothing. Working on the plantar surface, checking the tissue for any restrictions which may still be unresolved. Feels smooth. Bit of tissue thickening still. The area between the heel and before the midfoot. Gentle pressure. Hooking. Pressing, removing. Again, moving back. With my thumb sliding off the heel, moving towards the metatarsal heads, round and coming back, pressing around, coming back, pressing, coming back, starting from the big toe ray. That first line, second, moving towards the thickening, hooking, my index and the middle fingers, grabbing, stabilizing with my thumb, gentle pull, pressure, switching to my index finger, applying pressure with the acupressure stick, releasing. Okay, using my hook-shaped finger, soft mobile tissue, double checking with the thumb, same way, same direction. Excellent. Pink reddish skin, soft, no sign of restriction. Good mobility of the toes, middle toe, second, and the big toe. Adding extra adduction, varus, and release, sliding back, tiny bit of a flourish, and it motion towards the heel, using my other finger, alternating, pressing, compressing, mobilizing, releasing the joint capsule, applying pressure to the heads of the second, third, fourth, and fifth, applying traction and varus, sliding our thumbs and the index fingers. Excellent. Adding a bit lotion, soothing the tissue nice and smooth. Gentle compression and up on the heel, compression and movement, relaxing glide, gentle compression with just 2 fingers, pressing the fluid, the lymphatic fluid, intercellular, and the blood from micro vessels. Nice pink coloration of the food. Reacting well to my fingers, changing from white under the pressure to pink and reddish. Pressing around the heel. Sliding, coming back, using all my fingers of both hands, including thumbs, covering, releasing, once again, all of them, moving thumbs away, leaving just 2 on each side. 2 index fingers.